There's no doubt about it. We're heading into very significant economic uncertainty. Certainly on a global stage, there's a lot of issues going on, and in Australia we're on the verge of declaring we're in a recession. A lot of economic commentators are warning of very, very challenging times ahead, and I suspect we're going to be facing a few different curveballs in a few different areas. So if you're a board director, these are really troubling times, and it's a period in time where experience really will count. And I love to see boards at this time with a few people around the table who've seen a few things, who've lived through an economic crisis, who've lived through a GFC or a dot-com bubble bursting, or, lived through, stock markets collapsing, or industries being hit with, phenomenal regulatory issues and so on. You want people around the table who really have war gamed a few different scenarios and know how to navigate businesses and keep them off the reefs. There is no doubt where, if as a board director, your number one responsibility and the number one thing that would be keeping me awake at night as a board director would be tracking cash flow, obviously being very mindful of our insolvency red alerts, keeping really close to, where are we at with collections, where are we at with calls on capital, where are we at with our capital scenarios, where are we at with our relationships with our bankers, etc., etc. So your financial health and the various models need to be very carefully reviewed. You need to be lean and mean during these volatile times. It's always easy to flex up, not as easy to flex down. I know a lot of board directors are working through very significant corporate restructuring, getting ready, pulling the hatches down, getting ready for what might be coming our way. In the US, over the last week or so, and it's barely made news here in Australia, there have been very significant cybersecurity attacks on all government departments, including the Energy Department. Warning sign, and I've spoken several times about the World Economic Forum warning that this would be the year for a cyber pandemic. The lights could go out. And so as a board director, you should be right across your disaster planning, your contingency planning. What do we do if the lights go out? What do we do if the internet goes down? What do we do if the banks shut the doors? These are the sorts of scenarios you need to be thinking about, apart from the crazy stuff like what happens when the aliens land. Who knows what is around the corner? There is no doubt we are living in very, very volatile, uncertain times. And as board directors, we need to be right across all the different issues and how a company would survive and thrive during those challenging times. And so as board directors, we need to be thinking about our leadership. We need to be thinking about scenarios, and we need to have these things on the agenda so we've got our, contingency plans in place. I have spoken about this before, but I think a lot of board directors prepare for one scenario, but not multiple scenarios all happening at the same time. I think we have to be really sort of considering quite extreme situations that could occur in the next 3 to 6 months. And, generally speaking, boards need to be nimble. And so you need to think about your advisory board. Who is sort of bringing advice to the board on what are key issues we should be, dealing with. And I like to think of advisory boards like tiger boards. You bring together the A team, you bring together tiger teams who are sort of mandated to think outside of the square, who can really do a deep dive into your business, go and find out key issues, go and research key market trends, gather competitive intelligence. There's a lot of different mechanisms under which you can leverage the power of an advisory board, which is less hung up on governance and can really focus on business strategy, managing risks, working with your senior leadership team. So I think that it's an underutilized resource at the moment, but in these challenging times, you might want to really think about how you can leverage that to maximum effect. So as a board director, it is game time. It is game on. I think you really see the quality of business leadership during these challenging economic times. Good decision making, sound decision making, sound, solid leadership. And this is what your board should be providing to your employees, to your customers, to your suppliers. And just remember key messaging. This is a really important time for really, really considered, careful messaging so you can calm the horses, so to speak. You can keep people on the same page so people understand what you're grappling with, and get that consensus, get that alignment, get people pulling in the same direction, because the companies that are going to survive through these kind of big once in a lifetime black swan type events are companies that have that beautiful alignment between the board, the senior executive team, and the employees and the customers and the suppliers, where they're pulling together, they're trying to navigate through challenging circumstances. And I just remember during past crises, I have seen businesses really pull together, extraordinary things happen, extraordinary things that would never normally happen in a crisis, but because there was that clear communication, that alignment to helping pull the business through difficult times, miracles in fact did happen. So a very interesting time to be a board director, a challenging time. For some sleepless nights may be ahead, but forewarned is forearmed. Do the preparation work, call the extra board meetings, do the war gaming, do the scenarios, do the business continuity planning, get the executive team into the office, get everyone on the same page. This is the time to invest in those types of discussions. If you get this right, it will pay dividends in the months ahead.